I think it might be time for some real seating in this dining room.
It's me, Sam from DIY Huntress.
Wow! It's also me, Sam from DIY Huntress. So Chris is here.
Hello.
Visiting New York for one day. So I'm putting him to work, obviously. I need a bench and he's a legit woodworker. So we're gonna build a bench together.
We're gonna do it in one day.
Did we just become best friends? Yep!
No, it's gonna be legit. We're gonna build a legit bench in one day. Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
All right, we only have one day, so let's get started. This video is sponsored by my friends at DAT. It's just a single laminated slab. It's just a bunch of pine boards and it's 1.25 inches thick. So this is gonna be a dining room bench at the end of the day.
Got the bench top, legs, and then a stretcher.
We literally could have slapped like hairpin legs on this and been like, bench. But we're gonna do this a different way. Okay, so let's cut this thing up. All right, friends, it feels so good to be back on the channel with a project, and it feels even better to be back on the channel with a project with my friend Chris from Cowdog Craftworks. He is awesome. He was in town for literally 24 hours, and like a good friend, I put him to work to build a bench for my house, obviously. Now, not only did we build this bench in one day, we actually only used this one panel of wood to build the bench as well. So this is a 1 day, 1 panel project, which is pretty epic. Also, quick side note, I was so stoked to work with Chris on this project because Chris is a serious woodworker. He loves to do a lot of hand joinery work and is a serious pro at using traditional woodworking techniques, so I knew that I was gonna learn a lot from him during our 24-hour build sesh together, and that was an understatement. I learned so much from him, and I'm so excited to be able to introduce you to him in this video, as well as some of the techniques that we used. So let's jump on into this project. First thing that we needed to do was cut this panel down into our legs, our top, and then we had enough to also cut a stretcher piece for the bottom. How'd I do?
Perfect. Good enough.
No, take that. No, take back the good enough. You said perfect. You can't take it back. All right, what's next? Now we get to do real woodworking?
Yeah, so
Wow.
we're going to make a tenon on this side. It's going to be the thickness of the seat. And then we'll do a corresponding mortise on the other side. The only other thing I'm thinking of is we need to put this stretcher in too.
In my head, I'm like, we could just like screw it. Hide this roll of dowels.
I've got an idea, more complicated, but this is the first step anyway.
A little more complicated. Jeez. All right. So to help make this bench super strong and to also hide all of the joinery, we used a mortise and tenon technique. And what we did first was set the depth on the table saw for Chris to just cut out some grooves into those legs before we then were able to cut out the actual mortise and tenons on the boards. So while Chris focused on that part of the project, I actually focused on cutting the stretcher for the bottom of the bench so that we could install that as well. He then did some other fancy woodworking stuff, and I was on scrap wood cutting duty because we are going to be making a jig so that these mortise and tenons are perfect. All right, walk me through this.
Okay, so we're creating a template to then use a router bit to be able to hog out all this material.
I like it.
In order to do that, we have the scrap plywood here. Your job here is going to be to essentially create this little template. Now, we need something quick, fast, and dirty.
I'm gonna use some DAP Weldwood Instant Adhesive, quick, fast, and dirty.
So yeah, like I guess we'll dab some of that in the corners, and you're gonna want to sort of take extra care to cover up your lines. So like just barely, you know, cover up your pencil marks.
Okay.
And that way, like it'll be, you know, sort of the tightest fit, and then if we need to at the end, we can adjust the fit by hand.
I'm on it. I think you can trust me with this one.
I think I can trust you with a lot of this stuff.
Aw, you just like come to my workshop and compliment me all the time. So to create these jigs for the router, I used DAP's Weldwood Instant Wood Adhesive to attach the plywood pieces to one another, and then to attach the actual jig itself to the piece of wood. I used 2 pieces of painter's tape and the Weldwood Instant Wood Adhesive to act as a pseudo clamp. This is a method I use in place of using double-sided tape, and I absolutely love it. Now after just waiting a couple of seconds for that jig to dry onto the leg of the bench, I used my router with a top bearing flush trim bit to follow the shape of that jig, cut out as much as I could safely, continue that cut with my jigsaw, and then flip the piece over and continue the rest of the cut using a flush trim router with a bottom bearing. And I know I just spit out a lot of words in that one sentence, so I will definitely link all of the materials and tools that I used for this project on my website. You can check that out by clicking on the link below this video. So the key to success with a one-day build is to divide and conquer. So while I worked on one of the legs, Chris then worked on the other of the legs, and we each took turns working on our assigned joints. Not gonna lie, it definitely made me chuckle a couple of times to see me in the corner of the shop just going ham with the power tools and then turning around and Chris is being so zen with his hand tools. The saddest part too is he's so good at what he does that he basically was able to cut his joints in probably less time than I was able to use all of the tools I used. All right, it looks like a bench. Okay, so now we gotta make some more fancy jigs. Like this guy.
Yeah, and since there's going to be like little inconsistencies between each of the tenons, I think it's more sensical for us to build the jig around each individual one. And so we'll label them just A, B, C, and D. Do what they call a blind tenon, so it'll actually just be sitting into the seat of the bench as opposed to all the way through. Here.
I like your style.
Yes.
I like easy.
Let's do it.
Let's make some alphabets. So I've actually never built anything like this before in terms of using this mortise and tenon joinery and hiding the tenon inside of the bench. So that was really cool. But yeah, essentially we were cutting joinery that we could glue together without using any hardware, and then that joinery would be hidden inside of the actual top of the bench so that it looks completely seamless. But to do this, we did have to go back to making jigs, and these jigs were completely custom and fit around all of the tenons that we already cut. And to do this, I used DAP's Weldwood Instant Wood Adhesive one last time, and also this time included a couple of brad nails into each corner, just to make sure that I had a nice strong jig. I then made sure to mark exactly where I wanted these bench legs to go, and this was really important because the bench is going over a baseboard radiator heater, so this measurement was super crucial. So once we figured that out, it was then time to add that jig using that painter's tape and Weldwood trick.
In order to set the depth so that way we can have this blind mortise, whatever we're calling it these days. This is just a piece of scrap that we used from the template. I'm gonna set this on top and take our router and just kind of slide that down like that, lock it in. And then what remains, obviously we have where our bearing can ride on, and then that will give you the depth of the tenon, and then that will just drop right into our bench top.
Genius. You're a natural. All right, so once everything was locked and loaded, it was time to get jiggy with it, and Chris used the router to just remove the material from the top of the bench using those jigs. And because he's a professional, he also used his chisel to clean up any of the joints. Now, after we had cut all of the joinery, it was time to do a dry fit, and doing the dry fit, I noticed that there was a crack in one of the legs on the board, so I just filled in this little crack using DAP's Plastic Wood X. This stuff is awesome. It goes on pink, it dries neutral. As you can see, mine is not a vibrant pink anymore because I did not put the lid back on tightly last time I used it, so definitely make sure to reseal it tightly after each use, and also make sure to store in a cool, dry place away from extreme temperatures. Either way though, it does have a 12-month shelf life, so it works beautifully even though it doesn't look vibrant pink. Welcome to Sam and Chris talk about fancy woodworking things.
And how to actually glue this up. So the idea is that we want to really focus where our glue is and have it more at the bottom of the mortise, forced towards the corners, because you're trying to get that face grain to edge grain connection. So having that glue in those specific locations is going to be more beneficial and stronger.
Okay, and because I'm a visual learner, we're gonna do that and show it to you, and then we're gonna freak out because glue ups are really stressful, but it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Everything's gonna be fine.
Famous last words.
I'm in a glass case of emotion!
So for the glue up, we use DAP's Weldwood Original Wood Glue. You know how much I love this stuff if you follow me on the regular because I use it in basically every single woodworking project. And glue ups can be stressful, so using a glue you trust is important. This is a really important part.
Yes, I'm here.
Good thing Dad was there for emotional support. What would we do without him? Legit though, having an extra set of hands during a big glue up is so helpful. I wish I could kidnap Chris for every glue up forever. But yeah, basically once the glue up was done, that meant the build was done in one whole day. So glue up is done. It was a lot easier with another person.
Definitely.
So yeah, we built this bench in basically an afternoon. We started afternoon, and it's what, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock?
It's about 7:10, but we've also been mucking around just...
I also couldn't find half my tools for half the day, so...
We've been chit-chatting at least for 15 minutes.
So we were able to build this in an afternoon, which is like amazing. Thank you very much.
You're most
It's so
welcome.
legit. This is the most legit woodworking project in my house. So Chris is actually off on like fun adventures tomorrow, so I don't get to keep him for another day after this.
Unfortunately.
Sucks. Stay forever. So I'm gonna finish this tomorrow without Chris.
I know, sad. But what are you gonna do to it?
Okay, so
What's
I'm
the plan?
definitely gonna stain it. I think like black.
Maybe navy? Who knows?
Navy, oh, navy.
We saw a bunch of navy stain.
I thought I was
at the
picking
store.
up black stain at the store and it was navy blue. More power to anyone who wants to stain their furniture navy blue. But anyway, so go follow Chris, go sub to his channel, go check him out on social. He's super talented, does a lot of hand tool stuff. I feel like a legit woodworker today.
Go team.
Oh God.
That's
This
you
is
know,
about right.
yeah.
All right, it's
Done.
time for New York pizza. Let's go. We gotta get this man some real pizza. Come on. See you tomorrow, friends. Okay. So unfortunately, Chris had to leave. It's like way fun to build with maker friends. I wish that all my maker friends could come visit me and build. Anyway, I am going to unclamp this thing. It's looking good. And then I'm going to give it a good sanding, stain it, put a coat of finish on it, and then heading on into this dining room and we can finish up this dining room makeover. I'm really excited about it. So let's do it. Lots to do. Let's do it. Okay friends, check-in time. I tried out 2 different stains. I tried out an oil-based stain and a water-based stain. They're pretty similar. The oil-based stain, kind of, like you could see the grain a lot better in the oil-based stain. It still is bringing out like that yummy texture in the pine, where the water-based stain has like great coverage, but I don't want great coverage. I really want to see some of the grains. So I'm gonna go with the oil-based stain. It takes a little longer to dry, but I think that it's gonna look really cool when it's done. And I actually cannot wait to see this in the space with the custom table that Danny and I built like literally last year. So let's stain this bench. It was super boring finishing this bench all by myself, but after a couple of coats of stain and a couple of coats of poly, this thing was ready to install in my new dining room. All right, time for round 2 of our hangout session in my dining room. So if you haven't watched the full reveal of this space, I have linked it below this video. Please go check it out. It is so wild to me the way that this space has transformed. I did not think we would be able to fit a full dining space in this house, and it happened. And I really could not have done it without my friends who traveled here to help me make this vision come to life. I am so grateful. I talk about this in the reveal video, but looking at and being in this space feels so special, and I just feel like the warmth and the love every time I'm in here. Serious shout out to Chris though. He legitimately was in town for exactly exactly 24 hours. And I was like, I know you're in town for 24 hours and we could hang out and do nothing. And that'd be really boring, obviously. Or we can build a custom bench. And he was like, let's do it. So Chris, you are the real MVP. You're the best, dude. On the real though, if you don't follow Chris, please go check out his channel. He is incredible. He does such amazing work. His craftsmanship is unreal. I learned so much getting to collaborate with him on this project. I've linked his channel and his socials below this video, so go check him out. So now that this project is done, I did want to take a moment at the end of this video because if you didn't catch my big announcement, my last big video on this channel was a gigantic bombshell of an announcement. So please go watch that. But I didn't want to miss this opportunity to have this moment to say thank you so much for all of the love and support and encouragement and well wishes and excitement and enthusiasm. And like, I don't think there are enough words in the English language to describe the love that I felt reading through all of your comments and messages and your love. I just don't know how I got so lucky in this lifetime to be surrounded by so much support and so much encouragement, but I feel it and I'm so grateful. So thank you all so much for being awesome and for being here. Now, one thing I want to just tackle before we end this video is I had all of these intentions to launch my Patreon account with that big bombshell of a video, but of course, because my life is ironic, I think Alanis Morissette might have wrote that song about me. There was a glitch in the matrix and my Patreon didn't go live the day that that video went live. So I did get a lot of DMs, messages, comments asking where that link was. Well, we are live. Bruce Buffer, don't sue me for saying that. Patreon is live, the link is working. If you missed my announcement, I've created this awesome little Patreon community where I will be sharing project sneak peeks, project polls, so you guys can help me choose some projects for the channel, sharing discount codes for certain tiers for merch and for plans. I'm doing live stream Q&As for certain tiers, and all of the tiers have access to my brand new Discord community for all of you DIY huntresses and hunters who want to hang out, talk DIY, share cute pictures of your pets, and just get to be part of a really cool community of makers and doers. So link is officially live. Go check it out. I posted below this video. I am so grateful to every single patron who has subscribed so far. Thank you so much for being part of this journey. I literally cannot do any of what I do without every single one of you, regardless of whether you join Patreon or not. I just really am so grateful. And I know I say it a lot and it's probably overkill, but I really mean it. So yes, so if you want to check out that Patreon, go for it. If you missed my big announcement, please go check that out. I'll link it below this video. Yeah, so now that the dining room is done, it is time to start focusing on other projects and other rooms of this house. I am so excited to share all of the things I have going on right now. Please make sure to like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell so that you don't miss a single project. But until then, friends, I love all of you. Happy DIYing.